Welcome to Mamamia Out Loud, what women are actually talking about on Monday, the 15th of September. I am Jessie Stevens.
I'm Mia Freedman because Holly Wainwright is sick.
I'm Amelia Luster.
And here's what's on our agenda for today.
Prince Harry went back to the UK last week and it has changed everything.
And what is a mayor walk, and can doing one transform my mood?
The Duchess of Sussex's jams have been arriving on US doorsteps this week and last week.
I have an unpopular opinion. I think they're too cheap.
How much are they?
They're $9.
And
I think
it's
it's I think it's $7 postage. But like with all this fuss, I reckon, I mean, I wouldn't have bought them, but I think she could have sold them for like $30.
I completely agree.
Don't you agree?
Is there expensive postage?
$7.
Apparently
so it's
there
almost
is some
50%.
twine and some lavender, some dried lavender on it. So
Okay, that was just a little bit of business
advice. It makes it feel
advice.
mass-produced. I completely agree. And I don't know if you heard this or even if it made it into the cut for Friday's episode, but you know we spoke to a tarot card reader on Friday and one of our questions was whether Holly will ever get her hands on a jam.
I'm famous in the Out Loud world for being a bit obsessed with the royals.
Oh.
Am I ever going to get a jar of Meghan Markle's jam?
Ah. I need you to think of the jam.
Okay, I'm visualising the jam. I actually tried to order some last night. The raspberry was all gone. There was only marmalade. And then they wouldn't ship it here anyway.
I think there's a lot of it available now. I don't know how
Hard
much
to get
shipping
in
would
Australia,
be. Okay.
Maya. And she said she will get the jam, but maybe not the jam
she wanted.
It might be an unusual
Which isn't
jam.
that how life goes. So this is not about the jam. Prince Harry's had a really good couple of days. Let me explain. He took a 36-hour trip to Kiev in Ukraine over the weekend and he was promoting his Invictus Games Foundation there. But before that, he went to the UK for a few days.
And had a balloon animal sword fight with a small child.
Oh.
No, just catch it. There you go. Whoa.
He went, he
loved it.
visited sick children. He got out and about in the community. He was smiling. He was laughing. The UK press called it Old Harry is back again. Because, you know, he's only been to the UK recently for lawsuits and has looked very dour.
And funerals.
So was he in the UK as part of an Invictus Games thing too? I'm just wondering
No,
how
it was essentially a little unofficial royal visit. So he went in part because he really wanted to meet with his dad and it was unclear whether he was going to. And if you recall last week on the show, I cited some reporting that said that his dad was not going to meet with him. Mm-hmm. And the reason why his dad was not going to meet with him is because his other son, William, has absolutely nixed this. He says he's not allowed to meet with Harry. It's sort of the same as Prince Andrew. Once you're out, you're out. You can't be let back in. He said unforgivable things about Kate. He implied that Kate was racist about his children's skin colour.
And that she was cold. I've got a lot of sympathy for this idea because can you imagine, given that so many private conversations were relayed both in the Netflix documentary that Harry and Meghan did and in Spare, his memoir, like even meeting with Charles, I think trust would be very much in tatters.
Yeah, and, you know, I don't think it's unusual when there are two children to sort of play off each other to their parents. I remember once you and me were talking about how fun it is to complain about our sibling to our parents and then to see whether or not they agree with you.
And complain to our sibling about our parents.
Exactly. So all of this is said that he didn't know whether he was going to get to meet with him. Well, guess what? Charles was coming down to London from Balmoral for his weekly cancer treatment and he met with Harry. This is a huge deal. They have not met since February 2024.
Do we know where they met?
They met at
Clarence
House.
And the paps were tipped off by the palace to show Harry driving in his Range Rover.
Now, apparently they really pulled out all the stops. Harry has a beloved chocolate biscuit cake that Charles made sure was laid out for him. Clearly this was a real attempt by both sides to repair things.
So the Queen had this tradition of, they called it sort of afternoon tea diplomacy, where if she really wanted something or she really wanted someone to make them feel special, she would lay on the full English afternoon tea with the proper sandwiches, and she loved a bit of cake. So there was this special cake that she would have, this chocolate biscuit cake, which is quite dense chocolate. It sounds
really good.
It does. And Harry loves it. So there was a lot of people were saying, well, when Harry goes, if he gets the chocolate biscuit cake, that is like the real symbol of an olive branch, except in chocolate cake form.
And he got it.
Much tastier than an olive branch.
So the question is why? The question is why Charles went against the heir to the throne and his eldest son's stated wish to meet with his maverick younger son, who has also not said very nice things about him in the past. So why did Charles do this? Mia, what's your theory?
So I had no theories. Well, there's two that are going around. There's a newsletter called The Royalist that I read by a royal reporter called Tom Sykes, which I'm getting so much value out of. He has said that the media is very focused on the split between Charles and Harry, but what no one's really noticed is the split between Charles and William, and he said that's the big story because Charles believes that William is lazy, essentially, because he does not have nearly as many public engagements. So even though Charles has been having cancer treatment for the past 12 months, he's done 175 engagements. But William has been very clear about family first and wellness first. And Charles is of the Queen thinking, which is duty first. You never put anything above your duty as a royal.
And by the way, there's another dynamic laid on top of that, which is that William thinks he's going to modernise the monarchy, and he gets so fed up with how Charles is very stuffy and he likes wearing his uniforms, and he thinks this is all like very old-fashioned, and he thinks that putting his family first is showing that he's doing a lot to modernise the monarchy.
Yeah. He's like, let's make the monarchy cool again.
So do you think that maybe Harry and Charles had a little bit of a bitch about William?
I think Charles would have probably been more discreet than that because, you don't trust Harry, right?
Yeah, but with your mum, you you don't go full into it. You see how far you can get. You kind of go, how's William? Oh, has he been working hard? Oh, yeah. It's not a lot of engagements, is it?
That's true. And it's funny, when Harry was in London last week, suddenly Kate and William filled their diary with some more engagements.
Did you read the profile in The Guardian about
the interview that Harry did? Yeah, so he took a Guardian journalist with him on this trip to Ukraine, which is really interesting. He's got 2 new media advisors. What did you think of that interview?
Fascinating.
Amelia?
So number one, with The Guardian, which they even say at the start of the article, this is a really weird choice to have The Guardian go with him, because The Guardian is a very openly Republican media outlet.
So is he. He hates the monarchy too.
And then the second thing that's interesting about him going to Ukraine, this is his second trip to Ukraine since Russia's invasion. William has not been at all. William is desperate to go, but because he's the heir to the throne, they've said that it's not safe for him to go. There's been reporting that he was incredibly rankled by the fact that Harry gets to go and show his valor and his bravery stepping through the bombed out buildings, and William just has to hang around on the Estonian border with Russia because he's not allowed to go into Ukraine.
I thought of all the things, Harry in his Montecito home with his LA wife and all of that, I just thought of all the things he could do. He doesn't need to be in Ukraine.
He does.
No, I know he's got the Invictus Games, but I actually really respect his commitment to that cause. I read about him, and he had this great quote about nobody should feel embarrassed or ashamed about their disabilities, and it's about flipping from sympathy to admiration and respect. It's just a cause that's so consistent with him and his life and his military experience. And I just read that and I got to the end and went, yeah, people really respect you because you kind of do know what you're talking about, and you've chosen this cause, and stick with it.
He also gave £1 million to a charity in the UK, and a lot of people there were apparently thought this was a little bit gauche to give this amount of money. But then Americans pointed out, who were very comfortable talking about money, that William's Earthshot Prize, which also gives a cash prize out to people, isn't even funded by William. It's funded by private donors. So in other words, Harry is putting his money where his mouth is in a way that William is not.
I can see how galling it would be for William, because Harry, and this is why the Queen was so uneasy and vetoed Harry and Meghan's request to be part-time royals, because when you're half in, half out, he gets to come and do these quasi-royal tours. It looks like a royal, walks like a royal, smells like a royal, but isn't officially royal. So that helps him make commercial deals back in America, because he's this pretend royal, but he's not governed by any of the limitations of being royal. So, for example, William can't go and do what he does in in Ukraine because it's too much of a security risk.
Right. And yet Meghan, on the shortbread biscuits that went out in the US this week, apparently on the packaging it says, "These remind me of my time living in the UK when I used to have tea and biscuits." And you know she's playing off this idea that these are the biscuits that she probably ate at Buckingham Palace.
Yeah.
Speaking of Meghan, she has given Harry some very good advice that came through in the Guardian interview. She said, so Harry only mentions her once, but says that that she tells him that telling the truth is the most efficient way to live.
I love that.
And now he lives by that. And
I think that's brilliant.
I think it's brilliant. She's so wise, our Meghan. And I thought I could do with a little dose of that.
The Guardian article, did you read it, Jessie?
Yeah, every word.
So he is really at pains in that to say, yes, I miss the UK, but I also love my life in the US. And people have been saying that he's been looking very miserable lately, so maybe he's unhappy, but he was really at pains to paint his life in the US as one that he's very fulfilled in. Do you feel like that was doth protest too much, or did it feel convincing to you?
Totally convincing that he is.
What's not to love?
And that they kind of said, oh, you know, you whinge and you're someone who's always got something to complain about. But he was saying everything I've spoken about is just getting my version of what was already on the record out there. It was a right of reply, and now I've said it. And he does seem happy. He does seem lighter.
But here is where we need to move into rampant speculation. And Mia, I want your thoughts on this. He clearly wants in on some kind of royal or quasi-royal existence. He's been missing the shaking of hands and the jousting with sick kids, and he wants some of that.
He wants to be on the balcony.
It's not clear whether Meghan wants that. In fact, I would say that Meghan feels much more comfortable doing exactly what she's doing, which is pursuing a more traditional American or Hollywood conception of celebrity where you do the TV shows and then you sell associated branded products. These two intentions are in conflict with each other.
Disagree, because I think that what makes Meghan, the only thing that makes Meghan different from any other influencer is the Duchess part. So they need the royal adjacency to make money in the US and to retain their power, and their income is directly linked to that royal adjacency. If they're just Harry and Meghan, well, you know, then they're the same as like Posh and Bex or any old famous, albeit world famous couple. There were two things in that interview that really jumped out at me. The first was when he said, the next year is all about my father. I'm like, okay, well, Charles is sicker than we thought. And the second thing was the last line where the journalist talked about how popular he is in Ukraine. And because there's so many people who've got disabilities in the Ukraine who've been injured in the war, he's hugely famous because of his Invictus Games work, right? And so he was like mobbed in Ukraine when he was there on this trip. And what the journalist recounted to Harry that he'd asked one of the people, oh, why do you like him so much? And they said, oh, he's just this great royal, but he seems to do things his own way. And when he said that to Harry, Harry said, you know who else did the things their own way? My mum. And I was like, oh, the feeling that William and Harry must have in who has claim to Diana's legacy, because Harry has written so much about his devastation and Diana and
he is like her in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and William hasn't. And there's this idea that somehow William wasn't affected by her loss and isn't still affected by her loss just because he doesn't emote in that kind of American way, you'd have to say, that
he's not allowed to.
William, and I guess he could, but that's not really the vibe of the monarch and future monarch.
It's such a funny and forbidding family. There was some other news last week. Paul Burrell, Diana's former butler, he wrote something about the last days of Queen Elizabeth's life, and he had some inside sources there. And apparently she didn't even tell her family that she'd been diagnosed with cancer. She told her ladies in waiting and she told people around her. But she was concerned that if she told the family, they'd say, you got to get off the throne and we're going to put in a regency ruling until you pass. And I just can't imagine being in a family where you have to decide if it's strategically okay for you to mention that you're dying.
If you're feeling a bit flat, a bit isolated, a bit lonely, a woman named Anna Syrian wants you to try what she has termed the Mayor Walk. The writer, she has a Substack called Ambitious Softie, says what she does is she walks into the hub of her local neighbourhood. So think your local cafe, right? And she sets a challenge for herself to embody the energy of a small town mayor, right? What does that look like? You have to assume everyone is happy to see you. You have to make eye contact with all dogs and all babies. You must carry a warmth and lightness out in the community for specifically 10 to 20 minutes. She
That's
says,
about right. That amount of time is doable.
Is your limit. Yeah. She says this is the best way that she's managed to make connections in her small community. Amelia, would you say you have mare energy?
Absolutely not. I think I have spoken on this podcast about how my neighbours in my apartment building complained to the strata that I was not friendly enough. But that is, I think,
feels like something that would happen to me.
But that is, I think, why I adore this.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. Like, even to do it for 10 to 20 minutes, it scares me a little bit, and that's how I know I must do it. So I tried it this morning. I got on the bus and I said, good morning to the bus driver. And then he said something unintelligible back to me,
Yeah.
but I felt like I'd set off on the right foot, and I'm going to try this. I think it's fantastic.
Can you try it in your own house? Because you know
Yeah.
how we're all sort of looking and immersed in our phones and not – I'm wondering if it could have application.
I think the home could do with some mare energy because you, Maya, to call you out, you have mad small town mare energy in the office.
Do I?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So what happens is this is how I imagine it going. You get in the lift, you take a deep breath, you close your eyes, you have a moment, and you go, turn on the mare. And then you walk out of the lift. And because you happen to own this business, you don't get to walk in like Amelia and I do where we put our
Slinking
heads
in.
down and hide in the bathroom. You've got to have some kind of presence.
You do.
And you walk in and you have your like queen wave that you do to people.
Do I?
Yes. And
But
then
don't
you've
you
got
think, but mare wave's different
wait.
to queen wave.
Oh, sorry, you're shaking hands.
I'm not actually shaking people's hands and waving.
That's what
with
you're doing.
them.
And then you're going, you have your prepared small talk. You start touching people's clothes, questionable.
Yeah, I do.
Whether
That's my
very
version
mayoral,
of a
actually.
wave.
Yep. And then you just go, how's your weekend? Da, 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 da. And you are like this socialite that turns it on 10 to 20 minutes and then you go and hide in your office. And when you see me, you're like, hi, like, because you know you don't have to go full mare on me.
No.
But
I'm not the mayor of you.
To other people, I think that people who own businesses
Wow.
have to turn on the mare.
Do you know, and also people who work in the service industry
Oh,
when you're in any way customer facing. And you've just nailed why I'm so tired because I've often said when I'm at work, I feel the responsibility to walk the floor so people can see me. I've got to be interested in everyone. And I genuinely am.
you must embrace babies. If there's a baby in the office, it is like you must lift, like hold the baby, make a fuss.
You know that when you're the mayor or the owner of a business, you know that your people's interactions with you carry weight. And if you are in a bad mood or distracted or absent or whatever, that they can take that personally in a way that they might not if you're a regular coworker.
Yes, exactly. And,
So it's like being front of house.
yeah, it's almost like being a little bit famous, right? Because everyone knows who you are, even if you don't know who they are yet, because it might be their first day, right? And like you haven't met them before, but you've got to give them a memorable experience because you're the
Correct.
mayor.
This reminds me that I had a boss at a magazine I used to work at who was quite famous, and he's not Anna Wintour famous, but he's up there for journalists. And his strategy was he would walk around the office once a day, and you knew that he'd come and see you, and you kind of wanted to prepare for it by putting something on your desk to start the conversation, because the one thing you couldn't be was boring. So you might put a book on your desk, or you might put a new snack or some kind of offering to the boss on his mayor walk, so that when he came around to see you, you had something to riff on, and then you'd make that connection as he went on his walk.
That's genius because I think people can become very anxious when they have to talk to the mayor because I think it's not just business owners but it's also managers. I remember when my boss used to come into my office when I worked in magazines, I would always have like sporting equipment, not actual sporting equipment, but like there'd be an umbrella that he would pretend was a golf club, or there'd be like a ball that he could like throw in the garbage bin, and that sort of facilitated his mayoral experience.
I have found that I've gone a bit full mayor when I'm with Luna throughout the commute. Like when I was just on my own, I could just walk through and be anonymous and
so
whatever.
right.
But when I'm with Luna, I almost want to present the world as this open, exciting, everyone's our friend, and I turn into a different version of myself because I want to model what a kind, good, engaged person looks like, which is entirely performative. Like I've got to go, all right, let's put on my acting hat. So the other day I took Luna, it was a really cold day and we were hanging out in the morning. We walked past this guy who I see all the time. I say hi to him, who is currently homeless. And we stopped and I went, would you like a coffee? Let's go and get this man a coffee, Luna. And I thought, and that was for Luna. Like I'd like to believe that I'm a kind person, but I went, Luna needs to see her mum being a mare.
Yeah.
And so went and bought it. She tried to steal the bicky off the top and I went, no, that's not good form, Luna.
No.
We're being the mare. Went and gave it to him. And I was like, this is how I should behave every single day. Like it makes you feel so good about yourself because you're connected with the community.
Well, all the studies show that happiness comes from interactions that you have with acquaintances or strangers.
Yeah.
The friendships and the relationships, those are the draining ones.
That's why so many of us suffered during COVID, right?
Yeah.
Because we didn't we were deprived of those interactions. Do you remember when we were finally let out of our houses and we would have these long conversations with strangers in like queues or on buses? I think it's so interesting, this idea of a mare walk, because a mare is different to a royal and different to a celebrity because a mare is accessible and a mare is relatable.
And accountable.
And of service. You're
And
of
of
service.
service.
So I also think this is why I hate having birthday parties because you have to put on your mare hat.
Oh, crikey.
And the thing about this that I loved was I've got 10 to 20 minutes, maybe 12 minutes in me of full mare mode.
You're right. Hosting a party, you have to be a mare.
I hate, because the thing is I have a birthday party and you invite all your friends there and I'm like, I can't do 3 hours
Do you know
of
what's
this.
worse? Kids' birthday parties where you're unclear on the name of any of the people you've invited.
Oh, no.
How can you be the mayor when you don't know people's names?
And it just goes on and on. It's like I feel as though you do 10 minutes, you set it up and then everyone else, you know what you need? A sub in mayor. You need to then go, here's the baton, now you be the mayor because I can't sustain
I've got my best tip for mayors if you find yourself in a mayor situation. Great to see you.
Great to see you.
Not nice to meet you because maybe you've met before
Mia,
and you've
that's
forgotten.
brilliant.
Great to see you. It's great to see you.
Do you think this whole conversation people have thought we're talking about the male horse?
Female horse, actually.
Is it a
I think.
female horse?
A
I
mare?
think my biggest takeaway is that Mia thinks an umbrella is sporting equipment.
Yeah.
Before we go, I have gone full domestic goddess and I want to share it with you. I know how to make a scone according to the Country Women's Association, who, as you know, are the experts on this.
Did you do a course or
I did
something?
a course this weekend.
Sorry, of course.
She does such unusual things, Amelia.
This weekend, I had a friend visiting from the US and she has a baby and is very frazzled. And I was trying to think of what's a really Australian thing we can do that's not cliched. And it so happened that in my neighborhood, there was a Country Women's Association course on how to make the perfect scone. And I thought that's the most Australian thing I can expose her to.
Amelia, it's very with love, Meghan, of you.
I
think
is a
it's
bit
been
with
rubbing
love,
off.
Meghan.
When
Yeah.
you say course, how long, like is it a weekly thing?
Oh,
Did you have to? Like
it was a very rigorous 3 hours and we had to get involved with the making of the scones. But I learned a lot of really fascinating things.
Okay,
So-
please tell us.
I do love a scone. Can I just put that out there?
Love a scone.
Did you bring any?
I did not because I ate them all. We made pumpkin. We made a savoury scone with cheese and olive. The best cheese mix for a scone is parmesan and cheddar, half. And we made a regular scone and then we made a lemonade scone, which I'm going to make with my kids because they're really easy. Have you heard of this?
Lemonade scone.
It's just lemonade, flour and cream. That's
Cream?
it.
That sounds really yummy.
I thought you put cream on a scone, not in a
You
scone.
can make it in the scone. So the main thing I want to leave you with, because the big thing she said about how to make the perfect scone is you do not twist. Let me explain. When you are cutting the scone out of your dough, there's a temptation. There's a temptation to twist the cutter into the dough.
Oh, yeah. That's what I do with Play-Doh.
You must never twist because it inhibits the scone's ability to rise and to meet its full potential.
Jessie, you can't inhibit the scone.
Never twist, never twist.
I'm undermining its foundation.
It needs to be free.
Okay.
Do you have any other questions for me?
In terms of the tray, like how close are we putting the scones together?
Good question. They should not be touching. This is a common misconception, in fact. I heard from someone in the office here who thought that you were meant to sort of have them lightly kiss each other. No.
I thought you
They
put them in a
cannot kiss.
muffin tray.
Mia.
Oh, you've really upset everyone now. You're not going to be invited back. I think that Amelia and Brent, Holly's Brent, who won the Scone competition.
A Scone off.
I think that there should be a competition. Except it's just
No,
us
I'm going to
judging.
win because I'm going to leave you with a couple more tips.
Okay.
Keep everything cold. So you don't need to sift flour, which is great because I never truly understood how to sift flour.
I never understood the purpose.
I didn't know that.
The purpose is so you don't have lumps, guys.
Well, anyway, keep it in the freezer and you never have to sift it ever again. Keep your flour in the freezer. And another thing is that when you've made the scones and you've put them on the baking tray, whip them into the fridge for a little bit, then turn the oven on. So they get a little bit of a chill before you get them in the oven.
A few more steps than I'm happy with.
The final tip that I want to leave you with, and this is important, you cannot overmix. You just, it's a lazy girl's baking exercise.
Oh, which is also the rule apparently
Muffins.
for cookies. Yeah, you want to, I think that maybe you're not meant to with cookies. You're like, they're really good when you
Makes
don't
them
overmix.
go, what, a bit rubbery?
Yeah, it just doesn't let them rise. And then cream and jam, I want to see if we have thoughts on what goes first.
Okay, I think jam goes first.
I would think cream and then jam as the topper-offerer.
So it turns out that the reason why people are even putting jam on top is because of Instagram. Like this is like it's always
What's
been
Instagram
understood.
got to do with it?
You're meant to put the jam on first and then the cream. This is the CWA's doctrine and I am inclined to believe them on
disagree
everything,
with them.
including scones. But they speculate that because we now want to make everything pretty for social media, that's why there's been this pernicious shift towards putting the jam on top of
That's
the cream.
like porn.
It's like porn.
Yeah.
Because,
unrealistic
no, I don't mean food
expectations.
porn, but like the reason that there are certain things that you see in porn, like no pubic hair, is because it looks better on camera.
That's so much like
Not-
scones.
It's
Yeah.
like scones.
I don't know if the CWA would endorse that, but let's run with it.
Maybe they have a course for that. Probably not. They don't.
A big thank you to all of you, the Out Louders, for
Guys, this
listening.
has been fun.
It's been so much fun.
I might come back.
We might even invite you for listening to today's show and our fabulous team for
Have you
putting.
missed me interrupting you?
No, not really. I've missed your energy. I've missed your mayor energy. You were well behaved today. You were. You were prepared.
Got my best foot forward.
You got a good energy. You're allowed back. Friends, don't forget you
She
can
thinks
also.
I should keep
scones.
interrupting.
You just keep interrupting, don't you? One at a time.
She compared scones to porn. I don't think that's her being on good behaviour. Before we go, though, if you're feeling that pressure of the end of the year, and I know it's coming, you might enjoy last Wednesday's episode. It's related. We talked about the great lock-in. This is a phrase I'm using all the time now.
Yeah.
And I used it with my babysitter and she was so impressed that I knew this phrase. It was a really interesting chat and we'll pop a link to that episode in the show notes. I guarantee you will be using it a lot. Bye.